Okay, so I think we're going to get started again. So our next speaker is actually not in Ontario at the moment. So Dr. Anna Kate Shodler is going to join us from online. So Kate Shodler is a professor and champion pet food chair in canine and feline nutrition, physiology, and metabolism at the University of Guelph, and a research leadership chair. She runs an active research and teaching program focused on dog and cat nutrition, and continues to grow the impact of her laboratory on the Canadian and global pet food industry. She also has a very rich history in industry as well. So Kate, can I turn it over to you?
Great. Thank you very much, Jen. And thanks everyone for taking the time to start really thinking about how we can collaboratively push forward to continue to innovate in our industries. And of course, the application of research that we do is very critically important. So thank you very much for allowing me to come and share my journey with you a little bit and how I perceive this topic. Just a second. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I always think of the entire innovation process as a continuum, but also as an opportunity that we can look for potential collaborations with industry. And so right at the very top, is this idea of coming forward with a high-level technical problem. And I work with the pet food industry. We're a commercial product, unlike a lot of the application of animal nutrition we do. I also have to think about it going on shelves in stores. And so not only do I tend to work with different parts of the industry, and so not just pet food manufacturers, but ingredient suppliers, retailers, government, and in a lot of cases also non-governmental organizations who are key opinion leaders as it comes to the health and well-being of dogs and cats. And so I will get the right people in the room when we're had this high-level technical problem definition. And then depending on who those people are, we will define and explore that problem together until we're ready to move it through and look for money for it, execute it, and deliver it in the longer term. So I'm going to give you one example of what that looks like today. So when I think about the steps that I have to take to get a application of research recognized by government and industry, because I work in a highly regulated industry as well, the first thing that's important is that everything has to be data driven. And so one really great reason to have the scientists and the academics on the team, if you are part of the industry and you're thinking about doing your work yourself, is that we bring the data and the way that we disseminate data, and we make sure that it's in an open and transparent environment. We make sure we have all the approvals that are necessary. And we will also bring this idea of, oh, wait, this isn't actually a validated method. So let's start out at the beginning with just method validation. So one area that I work on is amino acid requirements. And this is the very first paper that we published where we moved a methodology from other animals into the dog, and we are now doing this work in the cat. And it was really important for us to make sure that this was in the literature because it defined our ability to use it going forward. But I had to explain the validity of this to industry, that we really needed this first piece to keep to set the foundation. Now, after that, then industry was prepared to start applying and replicating that work or that methodology in subsequent work. And from there, my laboratory and now other laboratories are applying this methodology to determine amino acid requirements. But once again, this is kind of a feel-good thing for the industry. Great, we have a better target for tryptophan in this case in diets for dogs. But what does that mean to my diet innovation? How do I think about that? Why is it important that I balance this amino acid? And so then it comes to really working with industry, especially around potential claims. And that's where you have kind of clinical efficacy that you want to demonstrate. And in this case, we looked at the tryptophan requirement. We went at the tryptophan requirement. We balanced it for its ratio with other amino acids that it competes with. And we looked at, well, what will that do? And we demonstrated that it improves serotonin status, it improves stool quality and in fecal metabolites, and it did not do anything to the body composition through the training period, which was really important for, in this case, endurance performance dogs. Not only did we make sure we published this in a scientific journal, but we also made sure that we presented it at the International Symposium of Energy and Protein. And then the student who led that work, James Templeman, who is now in the pet food industry, and a master's student, Eve Robinson, we also went to a really cool little conference where we talked to about 40 mushers on the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And we talked to them about our work and how we can optimize diets. And this led to a series of opportunities for my laboratory to be involved in sled dog nutrition. Now, it doesn't just stop there, though. It also is important to remember, I gave you an idea about the mushers, who are the sled dog owners, but we also have to understand how our work is interpreted by the very end user. So if you're an animal egg, that means, okay, so I've done this research on beef. How does that affect the steak that is on the plate? How does it cook? How does it taste? What do consumers think about that? And that's all very important as well. And you can do that with really good surveys, but I'm going to tell you, you should really, really make sure that you collaborate with economists on this. They're very good at understanding consumer habits and insights. And we have we have an opportunity, and this is going to include government, industry, and the academics, but we're trying to understand how consumers will view claims on dog food labels around protein, which would be a huge step change and really help to inform the consumer to a greater extent. Now, coming back to this, I've given you all components of this. I'll remind you that at that high level, when you're defining that technical problem and refining it, once you've refined it, you can generate a hypothesis, design your study, and you can get money from places like NSERC. And I only use NSERC as one example. Many of us, we use the NSERC Alliance program, which is a industry matching opportunity to get NSERC to support this research and continue to innovate in our sectors. From after all of the research is done and written, it is the academic counterparts like myself and Jen, and I unfortunately saw Mike Steele there for a second. We are all really good at making sure that we get our science out into the broad scientific community, which means that we also go through the peer review process. But we also then make sure that we go to the appropriate conferences in our sector. So I use a couple here. I'm currently at the Pet Food Association of Canada doing exactly what I'm talking about. I'll have students and postdocs go to the AFIA Pet Food Conference in January, and I'll go to Pet Food Forum in May, so we can translate a lot of our science. But one thing that's really important, and this is how I'm an ENTJ, and for sure, for those of you who know me, I do kind of see myself like that. But it takes a lot of energy, motivation, and persistence. So whoever is leading these things does need to have those traits in order to get research into practice. But there's also other opportunities when we're thinking about bringing research into practice. And I think the best opportunity here, and something that for sure the University of Guelph is really, really committed to, is experiential learning. And for those of you who don't know, we now have a MSc with a potential intern at the end rather than research. And this is really going to help us collaborate more closely with the industry and make sure that we are producing students that can help to translate the research that we're doing to your companies and continue to help you to innovate. That's not saying that there isn't other opportunities for us to work collaboratively and use those students in an internship program. And I have one example where I have recently set up an internship program with Champion Pet Foods with funding from my tax and NSERC. And of course, this also really helps to increase the accessibility to learning for all students. So if your academic partner that you're working with has an international student and they don't have the same opportunities to maybe go to conferences, for example, in the United States, there are these global research awards as well from my tax. And so I have a PhD student right now who is going to go work with one of the best metabolic modelers in the world, not saying anything about Jen and John, who I think are also some of the best mathematical modelers in the world. But what a great opportunity for a PhD student to go and have the opportunity to work with another individual that complements the research that you're doing. And there's money available for you to do that as well. And then last but not least, I can't help but emphasize something that I've been really enjoying as one of the hosts of the Pet Food Science podcast. And this has helped me gain an ability to help others apply research into practice and help the pet food industry continue to innovate. For those of you in different parts of the animal sector, these are all Wisentech's podcasts, and they're available on any streaming podcast you like, and they span swine, beef, dairy, pet, and poultry. So with that, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions for Kate? Questions for Kate? The post coffee. Yeah,
maybe.
And keep correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that we live in a world now where to a lot of people, pets are part of the family. So that's quite different than livestock generally, which a function there is to provide food and make a living from it. But how, have you seen examples where something that worked in pets was directly applicable to grip in livestock?
That's a great question, Mike. I think that if I was to pull one thing from pet that we do, I think almost a lot more than the ag industry at this stage is we have such a demand by the consumer to have more food, I'm going to say feed ingredients for agricultural animals. We have a lot of experience getting feed ingredient approvals through the FDA for an ingredient definition in AFCO to enable use in diets across North America. So that might be one. So we're pushing a lot of alternative ingredients through the pipeline right now. That at this stage, I think that would be the best example that I can think of. You bring up one other point in there, Mike, which is, and you've had me come and speak on this too, we do have to start being really sensitive to the work we're doing and the changes that we're making and whether society is accepting it or not. And so we do need that societal input. You can do that through survey. You can do it by engaging the community in terms of the work that you're working on as well. But I think that transparency will be critical in moving our sectors forward with societal support.
Kate, you mentioned a new master's degree that was out there, and I think I understood that it was for KTT development, but could you explain that more clearly?
So in the Ontario Ag College now, we don't just have a master's. So you all might have employees that would say that they did a master's by coursework. And then at the end of that, they would have written a major research paper. We know that not everyone is going into research. A lot of the time they're going into industry, and I think more now than ever before. And so it was a lot more practical to have an internship rather than a major research paper. And so what that really means is that we have an agreement. If you're a business owner, we might be sending a master student to work with you from May until August. And an intern, you have to report on their performance. Of course, you have to define what the work is that they're going to be doing. But this is an opportunity for you to teach people in a, first of all, it's experiential learning. So it's hands-on learning. But it also gives you, you get interns that could, for example, help you through the summer as an example, because they're usually going to be in the summertime. But it also allows you to see the HQP that are coming out of the University of Guelph. And that's especially relevant if you're thinking about hiring. Doesn't everybody want 4 months to take a look at a potential employee before you even actually hire them? That would be fantastic. So that's part of the internship program. And if you're interested in that as a business owner, I know, of course, Jen's standing, I can see her, and I know Mike Steele's there. And he's the graduate coordinator now, so he can field all the questions on that program for you all.
Great. Yeah, one more question over there. Yeah. Hey, Dr. Schubler.
I just wanted to ask a question in regards to whether any other universities have started to try and pick up on this master's by internship, or is this kind of something that's existing in a vacuum of the Department of Animal Biosciences here at the University of Guelph? Has there been any interest in other departments or in any other universities?
Well, for sure, the Wendy Pearson from our department led this, so she would have done a landscape analysis on this. But no, experiential learning is not new. Co-ops are not new, so it's kind of like a co-op, but not. There will be also, I think, greater co-op opportunities. So not at all. It is a moving target, actually. I would say that this is also generational. Gen Z appreciates that opportunity to have experiential learning, maybe even more than the generations that came before them. So we're not new. We're not new at all. It just took us a little bit of time to, well, frankly, do most of the paperwork.
Thank you so much.
Hey, any last questions, Kate? Good. Otherwise, let's thank our speaker. Thanks so much, Kate.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate you joining in online as well, Kate.
No worries. Thank you, Jen. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you back in the office.